It's nice that George and Galloway of the British Workers' Party and Moats Television, mother of all talk shows, have the money and prestige and time to make a big stink about being detained at Gateway Airport. George says that it has turned his mind to steel, and he's striding forth to Belfast to discuss it with his colleagues. I can make a similar claim to having a mind of steel. I'm a soft-hearted, soft-spoken person, easily approachable, and that has been my doom. However, I do have to testify that I'm dealing with the criminally insane. Murderers that include Sharon Santos, Bob Ferguson, Bruce Harrell, Aaron Dixon, Sawant, Pramila Jayapal, participated in a cruel and unusual experiment that left me chemically castrated because they couldn't work out how to misrepresent their fantasies enough to even have a poacher's show trial after luring me here with promises for protection from abuse from a gang who kidnapped and slaughteringly tortured me as a very little boy, all of which Hollywood wants to misrepresent, wants to start over, rewind, and play back as some deranged fraud of their own invention. Now, my father was the author of Humanizing the School. He was a humanist. He was a school bus driver in retirement. So naturally, I turned to the American Humanist Association and discussed with them the terrible criminal enterprise that King Crimson and Paul McCartney had embarked on over my dating a valedictorian Jewish virgin of the Ellis Girls' School, who I met at the Pennsylvania Governor's School for the Arts named Leslie Sinetta Katz, which left me unrequited. They claimed that they couldn't touch the case because Paul McCartney had made a brass check on the idea that I was innocent based on the claim that I was obsessing over her virginity. Michelle McVeigh told me that everyone in Pittsburgh obsesses over virginity. I didn't have an obsession with her virginity. I was gridlocked into a power structure arrangement by Catholics running a pornographic industry that had kidnapped and pedophiled me brutally as a child. I was locked out of a church. Greg Carl, expert in taunting and conferring privilege and status on people, referred to me as purposefully excluded. I was deafened and couldn't finish school. I was contacted by the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette roundtable discussion with the help of an enterprising lawyer for Yoko Ono so that they could pigeonhole me as inherently anti-Christian and to do what they would do by making it out that I was humanism's holy writ, with the help of the Zappas who wanted me punished with AIDS for what they claimed was a script showing I could have saved John Lennon, all of which is the script that they planted on me, but with the help of John Lennon, who was the star of the Lennon's Houdini script that Gail Burson's Texas School Book proves. Songs like Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite and Bungalow Bill were soundtrack for that script. In fact, the literature in the cinema structure that traces back to the beginnings of cinema in 1919 has his lyric, "It would be like starting over," in an Ayn Rand film from the 50s, a black and white film. So he was clearly in on it as a performing artist in what Martin Shaw callously refers to as the new age of genocide. People will wonder what's so new about it. What's new about it is that there was a humanist opposition once upon a time. Ramsey Clark and Louis Lapham backstabbed humanist opposition, public schools opposition. They knew and were advised that John Schulman was ripping off the museums, that Reagan's fascism in the name of religious extremism had struck on a child of a humanist, which was clearly identifiable as a symbol for abortion. And I was deafened. All of this would have been easily intercepted in the early 80s had Harper's Magazine, the American Humanist Association, Bethany College been concerned and been on the level. They weren't concerned and they weren't on the level. All they saw was an elite promised claque, a gold rush in the sky in the name of Paul McCartney and his vicious British military units who came in posing as Carnegie Mellon investigators. They were only investigating a script they themselves had authored to make sure it never got through to anybody what the human race is really and truly up against with the Trumpy-Toon Putinese society that has been found out as colluders, as cahooters by detective work here in Seattle. Putin, Trump, and Nosferatu, the royal class of Saudi Arabia, have all closed ranks to do this to Gaza, just as Gaza remained silent about what was happening to me. It's a Ringo Starr sandwich of the Muslims against the humanists. What they cleverly depict as a food fight. That's the Black Panthers Flotilla lunch program endorsed by Sabi Sabs, poisons the human little boy in the mouth and castrates him with the help of Samwat and Bruce Harrell. And the maniacs of criminal insanity that seem to just crawl like bed bugs out of Seattle, saying nothing, signifying nothing, and ripper hatters.